We spoke in the last two episodes about self discovery and discovering who you are. In this episode, we're going to pull both of those last episodes together so we can complete this part of the journey. Are you ready to do that now and put some very real direction into your life? Then you're going to enjoy today's show. Welcome to Mystical Journeys with Jase. Welcome back to this very important part of discovering who you are. So let's do a quick refresher. As you're building your self statement, the first part of it is finding all the things that you have developed as a pattern that show you who the person is that you came into this world to be. Remember, we're not dealing with your roles, we're dealing with your essence. You look at that essence and you start to see, wow, these are really all the things I'm supposed to do. 2 episodes, you built the self statement, and I'm proud of you. Okay, so let's get started on the second part, just as a refresher. The second part is to take a look at your challenges and to build that challenge statement for the things that have thrown you off center, the things that have pulled you off your path, and any things that are like that. So, in doing that, you're going to learn a lot about what to do with that. In today's episode, we're going to work together on both sides of those, and we're going to take a look at some very real world examples of what to do with both of them and why. Following your core self statement. Let's start with today. You've already built your self statement. You see those things that are really at the core of your nature. And I want you to take a look at your life right now and look at how many of those things that you're actually trying to follow right now. I mean, seriously, take that inventory. Remember, you found your core self statement. How many of those things are you allowing into your life? How many of those things are you engaging in your life? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There's probably a lot of things you're following that are just not in your core nature. And it's going to take some time to start to follow those things that are part of your core nature. But this is the very first thing you have to do is build your awareness in who you are right now. You're building that core self. You're building that personal statement so you actually have a place to operate from and know that this is really who you are on the inside. That statement alone is going to help you to be able to see opportunities when they show up. If I use what I shared with you in the earlier episodes, I said that I like to learn things. I like to understand things. And then I like to share them with everybody. Okay? That is at the core of my nature. So when I see an opportunity to learn something, to put it into an understandable form and then share it with other people, guess what? I am following the true part of myself. Even this podcast is an example of me finally following that true nature. Now, granted, for better than 20, maybe even 25 years now, I've been finding and following a lot of my true nature. And in some ways, it's made some things very challenging because there were people who really didn't want me to follow that core nature. They wanted me to live in their boxes. They wanted me to live in their ego so they could feel safe. But one thing that's happened because I followed my core nature is that I was able to learn some extraordinary things. I was able to travel to some extraordinary places. I ended up understanding some very extraordinary things. And then I get the bonus that is in this small area of my life. I'm able to try to explain some of these things and gift them to people so they can make something out of it. So, as far as me following my core statement, I'm following it even with doing this podcast, and I'm very lucky in that respect. Now, your core nature and what you like to do is going to be very often very different from this. You may be a person who's supposed to help people in a very different way. You may be a person who's just supposed to keep a very organized library so that people have availability of it. You may be the person who's just there to hold space for others and keep the environment flowing. How many times have you seen a person at work and you realize that that person is the soul of your workplace? They're the one who helped hold it together. Guess what? They're following their true purpose. Their energy, their life force is helping to add to that environment that you're in right now. And because of their presence, you're benefiting from that. I'll give you an example from my workplace. There's a wonderful woman that I work with. She is very sincere, very kind. And I have to say that, like, anytime people who come by with talk to her for a little bit, they leave with a smile on their face because of her energy. She is living her core purpose in just being the very person that she is. And I have to say, I'm honored to be working with her. Anyhow, she's listening to this podcast. She definitely knows who she is. All right, let's get back to work here. Okay. And that's one of the things I can say about when you get to your core statement. It really doesn't matter what you come up with, but whatever you do come up with is going to be so inherently true to you that it's going to automatically affect the people around you in a healthy, helpful way. Now, think about that for just a second here. Okay. We didn't even have to get into anything about energy or anything else at that point. Just being your core self ends up being something that could actually help to transmute people. I mean, if nothing else, they get to have a slightly better day just from you being a little bit more authentic. Like I said, in the future, we're going to do an entire series on being authentic. I've actually done one podcast on it, but I'm going to expand that into a larger series. And anyhow, and this core statement that you've come up with is going to go a long way to help you become more authentic. When you add the core statement to the energy in motion of living, that the core statement, acting upon the things that you know are part of your life, learning about the things that you really should be a part of your life, and learning how to let go of the things that shouldn't, you're going to be very effective. Okay. You're going to be a very evolved human being in this life. Think about that for a second. The work that you do to help build yourself into the real, authentic person that you are by learning the core self statement, both sides of it. Think of the effect you're about to have on people when you do this work. Trust me, it's worth it. All right, working with the challenge side. All right, so let's take a look at working with the other side. When you see these challenges, and they are usually patterns you've already done that really didn't work out so well. You had a challenge of similar relationships that didn't work out very well. Maybe gave away too much of your money at times. And really, that was also you giving away too much of your power. Maybe you gave away too much of your energy. You have a series of times where you've just given in to too many people for too long. Think about that. That's something that's a challenge. You've got to start to think about what you're going to do with that. So when you see those challenges, and I said this in the last episode, and I cannot say it enough, I'm going to ask you to do something immediately. Okay? You ready? So when you see those challenges, you see those invitations, ignore the invitation. Okay? Let me go ahead and repeat that. Ignore the invitations that come from any of the challenge side of your core statement. When somebody comes up to you and invites you into that energy field that does not work for you anymore, or has harmed you, or harmed other people, I want you to pull yourself away from that pattern. Please pull yourself away from that. You've spent most of your life already engaging that pattern. I would like to see you spend the rest of your life disengaging from that pattern. Okay. You're going to get many invitations to go back to those patterns because the world wants to keep you where everybody feels safe. And you stepping outside that mindset can shake up some people. But what I'm going to say is by stepping outside of that mindset, it's going to help you in ways that you never thought it could. And those things that help you by stepping out of that are going to affect so many people in such a positive, beautiful way. You're going to realize that this is exactly some of the main work you need to do. Take a moment, think about it. You're pushing through some difficult changes in your life, and its effect will help maybe thousands. I have. It's why I'm here. All right, let's talk about your homework. Okay, here comes three parts. Part one, plant the seeds. I want you for the next couple days to make a list of all the things that you see that are in alignment with your self statement about who you are. Remember that from an episode just a couple episodes away? I want you to think back on that. And I want you to start to put together a little action plan on how you're going to go about doing those things in that self statement. Like, if you are somebody who loves giving to the poor or doing some type of service or something like that, and you see an opportunity to do that, I'm going to ask you to explore it. Take a step over there, make that phone call, plant that seed. That's what I'm asking. Plant the seed and see what might happen next because that is something that is actually in your core nature that you're adding energy to. And when you start planting those kinds of seeds, you're going to find some enjoyment in doing those very things. When you're engaging your core self statement of who you are, it feels perfectly natural. Every day when I'm engaging that core statement of myself, I feel like my heart is just uplifted. I get my opportunity to go spend time with people and help them in ways that they never thought they could be helped. And I really enjoy doing it because it's a part of my core nature. You see what I mean? I'm living the life of my core essence. All right, let's get on to part two. Okay. Denying the invitations. Here's the second piece of homework. You're going to get several instances of being invited back to the things that really don't serve you, especially in a way that helps your growth and evolution. Every time you have an instance like that, something that is trying to pull you off from doing this kind of work, something that's trying to get you to do something you really don't want to do, I want you to deny that invitation. And here's how you're going to go about doing it. Okay, you ready? I want you to say this to yourself. I deny the invitation to go to this thing that is not part of my growth. Now, fill in the blank for yourself. And if it's something like from what I can share from my own life, I'm going to deny the invitation to be pulled into a very limited viewpoint that is going to knock me off center from all the research I've been doing. Think about that. So when somebody starts arguing with me because they feel that they're right and I'm wrong, first off, I love a good discussion, but having an argument with somebody who is unyielding, that's an invitation for me to lose a lot of my energy. So guess what? I'm going to deny that invitation. Okay. I say to myself, I deny that invitation to get pulled off center. If part of your challenge is that you get angry very easily about something, then you can say, this situation is going to invite me into anger. I will deny being a participant in this situation and pull yourself out of it. If you have an intuitive moment that says, hey, I really shouldn't go over there because I'm going to get into some trouble doing this, or I'm going to get in an argument doing that. That's an invitation you need to learn to deny. Don't get me wrong. There are times that you have maybe a family member that they are right in the middle of your challenge statement. So, what I'm going to ask you is keep in mind that when you're around that person and they start to invite you into that challenge area, minimize it, limit it, or ignore it. Do the best you can. Yes, I got to say, I've sat around that dinner table and had some disagreements with my father about something or whatever. But when I learned to get past that statement and move past whatever he had said, guess what? The hour-long argument over a point was only a couple of minutes. And then he says, "Hey, so what have you been up to?" So instead of having 55 minutes of arguing some point that he wanted to argue with, I disengaged from it. I went on to something else, minimized it, did what I had to do. I want you to do the same thing. I want you that when you see those invitations to pull you off center, and everybody, I guarantee you, you've seen dozens of these invitations. Keep the courage. You're on this podcast listening to me right now, which has already shown you've got the courage to do this. So when you see those invitations, either quietly or whatever, ignore them and get past them. All right? Okay. Let's get to part 3. Accept the person that you're becoming. All right. You have both statements now. And I want you to do this. Say it to yourself. It's very simple. I'm very proud of the path I am following. I am learning the flow and healthy, positive direction in my life. I am learning to deny the invitations that have pulled me off center for many years. I am very happy and I accept myself fully. And I accept the person I'm becoming. The next thing I would like you to do is track your progress. Start to see if the universe starts reflecting back to you that there are more things showing up that are in alignment with who you truly are. And when those invitations from the challenge side come, pay attention to them. And after a while of denying them, all of a sudden, those invitations start to lessen and they get fewer and fewer. And those things that you're trying that are trying to pull you off center, they're going to eventually get to a point where you hardly see them at all. All right, let's get to wrapping this up. Okay. I can tell you with all certainty, I want to thank you for listening to all 3 parts, the self discovery work of who you are. It's going to make a beautiful course correction in your life. Like I said, you're going to get into that boat. Your boat has been going along the river, but here's the thing, you've been paddling against the river for most of your life. When you do this work and you realize what you need to do, you lift the paddles out of the water, and that little boat is going to take a course correction. And instead of fighting the current, you're going to be flowing with the current of who you really are. And then when you add energy to that and you start paddling in the direction of where you're supposed to be going with your life, guess what happens? It flows. You gain some speed. It feels wonderful because it's almost effortless. And then when there's those rocks that invite you to go over there and cause problems or try to turn you around, that's when you're going to exert the effort to just move away from those. You've learned how to do it now. So go ahead and do it. So, with a little bit of effort, you're going to avoid the pitfalls that have thrown you off center your whole life. And with learning which effort to put in, whether it be lifting your oars up or paddling with the current, that's going to set a beautiful direction into your life. And I have a feeling that you're going to start to see the changes that I see in many people. I love to hear about them because I love hearing people's stories about how they've changed and where they went with everything. Feel free to locate the Facebook page for Mystical Journeys with Jase. Feel free to join it. That way, you know when these episodes are coming up. Hit that follow or subscribe button so that more of these episodes that I'm doing can get dropped right into your library. All right, now here's something really important to me. If something helped you in any or all of these episodes, or especially these last 3 lessons, go ahead and forward this to a friend. Tell a friend about this. Because remember, each of the things that we go over could affect them in a way that could really help them. Spend some time. Talk to them about these episodes. Talk to them about the workbook you signed up for. Okay? Keep in mind, I have a special gift for anybody who signs up, who wants to work through this process. Sign up on the Mystical Journeys with Jase.com website. I'll send you that special workbook to help you along with this process. I use this workbook with my international students to help them discover themselves. And they make wonderful corrections to their path. So, like I said, pop your email address in, please. And here's something a little bit extra for the future. I'm going to be expanding on this workbook. And there's rumor I might even be developing a kind of mystical journey academy. I'll tell you more about that in the future. All right, anyhow, thanks for letting me be able to speak to you and allowing me to tag along in the middle of your growth and offer a little bit of guidance on your journey to deeper self awareness. Until next time, keep focusing on discovering who you are. Keep focusing on ignoring those challenges. And please keep living that life that you are supposed to lead as a more self aware person who now has a better direction. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.